Hey, how's it going? I want to do a video talking in retrospect about my recently released Caterpillar adventure, the development, how it went, what I learned, and the future of it. For this project, I wanted to create a pixel art platform that included some of the best elements of my prior work, such as the forest game and the geo game, which were rather shorter experience. I wanted to create one that was like a little bit longer with more level variety and gameplay variety, as those two experiences had some elements of it, with the geo game having different level designs and thinking around like using a level concept, but I didn't get to like combine the level ideas. I just did it like around one singularity of either like ladder climbing or moving platformers, but I didn't get to combine them as much. And with the forest game, I got to create these nice, well designed like backgrounds and like foreground arts, but I didn't get to do things like animate them because they were in Illustrator and I wasn't that familiar with it. And I didn't get to incorporate different level designs because the theming was more around having the level shift, so be very similar, but like change in scope and then how it looks more than like how it plays. So I wanted to combine it to make it more like complete platforming experience with like a lot of different levels, a lot of different gameplays, as those are the platformers I like to play a lot. And I'm glad because I got to use the Corgi engine again and really like delve into like all the different mechanics and like ideas that they allow you to like create with. So I was able to accomplish making like a lot of different levels and playing around with a lot of different things that I didn't even think of beforehand, like before starting the project. So this one was really good for what I wanted to make like a building block to potentially create even more levels down the line or like more ideas for levels. So I can create like a full release, as this one right now is like around 40 minutes at the or at the least, maybe like an hour if I was to be kind. So I would potentially want to like expand on that and then maybe be able to one day have like a full release. And I'm glad I got to do it with this game. So when I started the development of the game, I actually initially started with the idea of creating it around a snake. If you look in the files, it's like called Snake Game because of that. When I was younger, I had this like little plush that was like around like a snake, and it was green, and I really liked it. I thought it was nice, and I thought it'd be like a cool character because I was playing platformers around then. I thought he'd be a cool character to make a game on. So I wanted to complete that idea with now that I can make games. But I was having difficulty coming up because I wanted like before I went into like creating the level, like came up with like ideas, even like an Excel document or not Excel, a Word document of like a different ideas to come up with like to incorporate in the levels. So I want to have like a variety of things for like enemy designs or enemy types or what they could be around. And I had some difficulty coming up with them for like a snake. I didn't have like too many ideas, and that's when I switched. I wanted to do like I decided to do it on a caterpillar. It was also around this time because I was playing around with the Corgi engine, and I saw that they had this cool like it was like a character swap or character switch, I think is the name. And I wanted to try it out because I haven't done anything like that before, and I thought that'd be pretty cool to have like two different characters that play like similarly but like have some differences. So that's where we really went into the caterpillar idea, because then the other character, which ended up being the other character in the game, is the butterfly, and we were able to figure that out, which is pretty good. It took some time because I've never done it before, but we were able to figure it out, and that's when we like really delved into ideas, and it was much easier to come up with ideas because you could come up with like well, what I did come up with was like other insects, like a fly or like a hornet or something that's more menacing, like a spider. We have in one level. So it was easier to come up with like a variety of ideas and like what they could do and stuff around that for the caterpillar and butterfly than the snake. And it ended up being for the better because now we have like the two characters. And in order to differentiate them, I wanted to give them different abilities. So for the caterpillar, we gave him all the additional moves that you expect in like a platform, like the jump, run, walk. But we also gave him like a dash because I thought that would be like a unique idea, and mostly because we also had the butterfly, and the obvious one for the butterfly is to fly. So I wanted to give one of them like a unique idea, ability for each. So the butterfly has a fly, which you can use anytime, but it has like the meter, and then when the meter goes to nothing, then you have to then it'll like instantly stop, and you have to wait till you recharge it pretty much. And then for the caterpillar, you have the dash move, which you can do in any direction, which is fun. And the only thing about that is you can use it once, and then when you like touch the ground, then you can use it again. And I had one like when I was testing when you like spam it, so you'd be on the ground, you could just spam Y to like do it. So I think it's like half a second or a second like delay between each of them before you can use it again. But besides that, you can use it whenever. So that was the first part. It was really coming up with the characters, getting like a feel of them. And they have like a test room in the Corgi engine, so we were like testing out or I was testing out the characters and how they played, and then testing out like some enemy designs for some of the ones I've done in the prior works, like the Forest game. I did in that game like a bird and a monkey, so I did similar things where the monkey could walk and jump. So I added that to like the normal enemy. Here was a beetle, we call him Little Beetle. So we give it so him so he could walk, and then I have one that the grasshopper. He does the jump, so walk, and then after like a timer, he'll jump. And then we have a flying enemy. We did the fly. So those were the initial batch of enemies that we did. And then we played around with some other just like gameplay mechanics. I did like the ant, so I wanted something where you can like do like a really high jump, and on him that's what it is, almost like a trampoline. And then I have the normal grass, and then I played around with some other things, like there was surface modifiers for the grass, so you could walk, speed up, or slow down with it. So we were really just testing out stuff and just getting a bunch of ideas so I can like incorporate in them level and get like a feel for the characters and how the enemies would play. Level design for this game was a similar process to how I did it for my prior work with the Geo game. For that game, I drew on a lined piece of paper to get down the concepts and like an idea of what type of level I wanted to design first on the paper. And then when I was happy with that, I would then bring it into Unity and like adjust based on how it felt, or based on how like high it was, or like how it felt playing it. So they worked really well for that game, which was like a puzzle platformer. So I wanted to do like a similar concept with this one, which was also a platformer, but based around like the level design for that. For the first level, I wanted to serve as like an introduction to the two characters, the caterpillar and the butterfly, and the different mechanics they could do, like and I wanted to design it based on that, where it's like an introduction to the caterpillar and all their like moves, and then in another section, introduction to the butterfly, and then how there's two different characters and they can do different things. And yeah, that was something I designed on the paper. It was like the first section I focused on the caterpillar, where it was the basic mechanics where you like run, and there's like a section where you can just run, but then there's a gap, so then you obviously have to jump. And there's like background instructions as well, so I wanted to give those ones. And then like after those, I wanted to introduce like the first enemy, the little beetle, which isn't like the hardest one. It's like kind of like a Goomba from Mario. um, and then after that, I wanted to introduce the dash mechanic, so I did it in a way where it's like at first there's like a collectible if you dash, so it's like up here and you like jump and then dash to get it, which is like because your normal jump wouldn't get you that high. And then in order to like further instill it, a little bit after, it's like a platform, so it's like you're here and the platform's up here, and you have to like jump and then dash up to get it. Nothing too complex, but just like kind of like show those mechanics. And then after that, it's like it teleports you to the section where you turn into the butterfly, and then the butterfly like because you already have the running and stuff. So I want to introduce that main mechanic, which is the flying, and how you can use it to get to like great heights, or you can use it to like defeat enemies and stuff. So yeah, it was a good introduction to that. And then that was basically the first level. I also want to include like little secrets. So I had the caterpillar house, which would take you, if you like decide to go inside, you can like interact with like a couple characters and like get some more information about like the tutorials, or like some like information they would talk about like ladder climbing, which is into like a little bit later, but it will like introduce you to that, or jumping down from platforms, just some small like tidbits of information for like taking the time to go there. So yeah, that was the design of the first level. It was very standard, but I wanted to serve as like a tutorial, but also like a fun, like more simple level to get like a feel of both characters and how the game's gonna go. So for the second level, I wanted to implement more platforming elements to the design of the level when compared to the first one, which was more to introduce the characters. I wanted to build on that. So the main mechanic that was made for this one was the idea of falling platformers. This was introduced in a similar style to the first level and how I introduced the main mechanics of the characters, where you would start off with like a simpler challenge, which would be the platform here, and then like a falling platform that would slowly go, but you can like walk across and then get to another more safe platform. And then as the level progresses, you get more custom and familiar with the falling mechanic or the falling platform mechanic. It would wrap up with like a little bit of a challenge. And a secondary mechanic was introduced that complemented pretty well. It was the idea of water. So this was done with like the surface modifier, which would give you like you can like jump and then it would like push you up and you would fall down within the water. And this was really helpful with the falling platform mechanic because instead of like a pit, like normally, like you would have like a gap, and if you fall down, you would just die because of the pit. You could put water beneath it, and then you would fall down. And even though you would have to like go all the way back or like a little way back to get to the challenge again, it wouldn't be as like punishing or as grueling as maybe like just dying in the middle of the challenge. So that was something that we added, and that was introduced in a similar way, where it was like a little area of water that you can jump over if you don't want, but you can go inside and get a little familiar with the water mechanic and how it works and how the character works within it. And yeah, so that's those two mechanics like work together pretty well because there was the falling platform, and then you have like the little water area, and then I have a more complex, a more challenging platform mechanic where you have to use like a quicker jumps or more precise jumps to get on the falling platform, and then jump over an enemy to get to like another one that may go a little quicker. Um, and at the end was the water mechanic at the end, in case you like messed it up, so you can retry it and the enemy responds and stuff. So that type of level design I was happy to add because it was like adding to what we had for the first level, and those like mechanics and how they would work. For example, at the very end of the level, you have the falling platforms, but if you dash, you can like with your jump and dash, you can make it to like a higher up falling platform, and that's how you get something else I introduced with this level, the idea of the different endings. So in the first level had the blue caterpillar house at the end, but for this one we started the idea of doing two different endings, which was the blue one, which would be a normal ending for completing the level, but if you went out of your way to like do one of the secret areas, so for example this area at the very end with the platforming challenge, if you get to the platform at the end of that, it'll use a stem plant to take you to a secret area with the butterfly, where it'll be one based on exploration and flying. And if you get to the end of that, and there'll be like a little frog house where you can interact with some frogs, the characters. And then at the end of that, there'll be the golden house, which for later in development, we made it so it takes you to like a mini game, and you play the little mini game based on collecting fruit based on what's it called, whatever mechanic was the level was focused on. So, for example, for the first level, it was based on the normal like dashing mechanics that the normal level was introducing. But this level would be the falling platforms and collecting it based on those, and trying to time your jumps and stuff to collect them all within the time limit. So I was happy to introduce it to this one, and then it was something we could take for the subsequent levels as well for the main ones. And yeah, so this one was pretty good to build off the first level, which was just an introduction to the two characters and their mechanics and how they work. And then this one is introducing new ideas such as the falling platform, the water, and trying to combine them in nice and unique ways. For the third level, as the first level is based on introducing the mechanics of the butterfly and the caterpillar, and the second level is focused on platforming with the caterpillar for the most part, and then a little area at the end that's optional for the butterfly. I wanted a level focused on the butterfly, but one challenge that I had with that was as the caterpillar is very suited to platforming with like the dashes and stuff, as the butterfly, because you can fly over a lot of platforming challenges. So if I had like flying, what's it called, platforms that fall, you can fly over them pretty easily. So that was like a little bit of a, not really a constraint, but something I had to like think around. And the one that I wanted to try something different as well was to create a level based on exploration. So the other ones were a little more like linear, but like more condensed. But I wanted one level that could be a little more like exploration based, where you would like find stuff and like a little bit bigger in scope. So that's what this third level was based off of, Windy Willows. It was based off that idea to try to make it something where you explore a little bit more and you could find different things. So we spent a little bit of time trying to do that. So that's where the first if you go to the left and you fly all the way to like the top, you'll find like a little platform with like a pile of leaves, and underneath it's a hole. And if you go in the hole, it'll take you to like a 18 or a 16-bit challenge level. That was something I wanted to try. It uses the Corgi Engine's go to entry, like not a teleport, but a room system. So it'd load a new level for you, and you can like play the new level and then come back to the original level at the end. So that was something I wanted to try, and I decided for the 16-bit aesthetic to do something different and something that I think is pretty cool. Everything within the style of like a smaller pixel art, which isn't too hard because the how I did it for those ones, you would take, because everything was done with a 64 by 64 for the most part, with some exceptions like the Caterpillar house, I think was 128 by 28 or something like that. But you would take like the normal sprite and just shrink it down to like the 1616 and do the animations based around that. So with some like exceptions, like the falling platform one, that one is because when you take the other one, it was like it looked a little more not complex, but didn't really fit what I was looking for. So draw it like hand draw it and then do it like a little more simple to fit the aesthetic of the 16-bit. But besides that, we did it so that would be like a little challenge, and that level itself is like a little bit harder than like some of the other levels that I have. But the idea is that it's like a little more difficult, but you're supposed to do it in like one run, so it's like really short compared to the other levels, which are like kind of like this long in scope, but this one's like this long, so it's like a little bit shorter. But it is like a tougher challenge, and you have to use the mechanics a little bit more, like jumping and dashing and stuff. So you have to be a little more precise. So that was that one, and I wanted that to be like a little secret to find after like exploring in the level. And another mechanic that was introduced in the third level, which was helpful, was the idea, and it was a little bit teased at the other level, but it was part of the optional butterfly area, was the idea of like having goggles that zoom the camera out. So how that works is like the goggles are there, and there's like a button prompt. When you press the button prompt, it effectively turns off like one camera, which is the main camera, the normal one. I think it's like a like a 5 view, so it gives you like the normal screen, and then it turns on a secondary camera, which does like I think it's 10 view if I'm not mistaken. I haven't looked in a while, but like it zooms it out a little bit more, so it'll make the screen like a little bit bigger, so you can like see. Because one problem I noticed as well. With trying to have it, so I wanted to have it like some platforms that you maybe have to like fly a little bit higher to, because the fly can get you like pretty far. But for those ones, I would have to. They would be hard to see unless you knew, and I would know because I did it. But like somebody else that was playing it wouldn't really know, because you can't like look ahead or something like that, or there's no like map. So having the zoom out goggles was like helpful for those ones, because then you could like see what's ahead and then like plan around that. So um, that was something that I wanted for this level in particular, just be able to like see it all. And then the main mechanic that I haven't even talked about yet for the level is the wind. So for this one, it's like very similar to some of the other stuff I did with the surface modifier. But for this one, it does the surface modifier of directional, so it'll affect how you move in the directions. So the wind that's like in the air, that'll like push you up, and that will like push you up, so you can like get a little higher. Or some later on will like start to push you down, and you can fly and jump to like not avoid it, but like kind of fight against it, but it will like trajectory like push you down for the most part. And then on the platforms, so something I was talking about a little while ago, is like stuff that speed you up and slow you down. And then for to make it more like visible, I wanted the animations of to like push, or the particle effects of the wind to go in the direction. So if it's like this way, it'll go this way, this way, this way, and then up and down. So yeah, that was something that I wanted to implement, and we have two other like secrets in the area. So it's like one that's a secret room, which I wanted to, for the caterpillars, so you could play as both characters, and that one I wanted to do like a little platforming challenge with the wind stuff, and then back to the more exploration. That way, you get like a little bit of both in the level: the exploration with the butterfly, and then the two platforming challenges of the levels. And yeah, those ones were that. And then other stuff we introduced were just stuff to help. One was the new enemy, which was the hornet. So it'd be like it'd follow you, and it wasn't too bad with the butterfly because the butterfly can fly. So if he's like following you, you can like fly and then try to avoid or try to bump into it or jump on it. And then another one was so for what's it called, for like platforms that are high, and I wanted you to like go down. It wasn't as obvious to see that you're supposed to go down because like in all the other levels and stuff, there'd be like a pit where you would like die, of course. So it's not like something that's your first intuition, or at least I didn't think it was. So I wanted to have like a little platform that would like make it, so we did it. And because the level's based around like fall and stuff with like the trees and the colorfuls, I had a lot of fun designing them. But like we wanted the platform to be like a pile of leaves, almost like a linear one that's like thin. And the thing with that would be is you can do it where you like jump down automatically, or like if you know it is that. But after like a couple seconds, the pile of leaves will like disappear, and then you'll fall down, which will begin. Then you can see the part at the bottom and continue the level. I just wanted something to like indicate it or like help indicate that idea. And yeah, I think that was something good. And then some of the other mechanics was like the enemies and stuff. And then I introduced the ladder again, which I also wanted to help visually aid to show to go down for that little area. And yeah, that was it for, I think that was it for all the mechanics for this level. It was more based around the wind and going like little challenges based on that. So it'd start off with just on the ground where the wind would push you, and then you would just let it push you or let it take you up. And then after that, it'd be like little platforming challenge. So you have to like run with the wind and then jump over, or the wind would have like be pushing you down, like I said earlier, and you have to like kind of fight it to get to the end. And yeah, that was it. And then at the end, there's one little challenge to get to like the top area and get to the leaf or the house before the leaves like disappear. To get to the little challenge, or what's it called, the timer mini game at the end. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just go, and then there'll be like a bunch of trees, and I just have like little pumpkins to make it more like scenic, with the caterpillar house at the end. So yeah, that's it for level 3. For the fourth level, I wanted to introduce a new idea of ladder climbing for multi-directional, and to accompany that, spider web. So for the spider web, we have it so it's like this, and you can like attach to it using the up button, and then you can move around it and then jump to get to different platforms, just to do something different. And then an obvious enemy that could be applied to it was a spider. So we have a spider that just patrols. It'll go like up or down or left or right on the spider web. And then some other new ideas I wanted to add to this was some new enemy varieties. So when you go in the water, previous levels, it was just the water area. So it was just kind of like a different type of environment, but there was no really like hazards within it, besides like maybe a pit or something. But an enemy type we added was the urchin, which would kind of be like a spiky enemy. So if you're there doing like a little animation, but if you collide with him, you'll get knocked back and take a little bit of damage. And then something different I wanted to do was like a new enemy type, which was the stink bug. So how the stink bug works is he'll like walk around. He's a little faster, but he'll like move a little bit around. And then after a timer, and you'll see it like with the animation as well, it'll be like a little bit of stink, and then like a cloud. He'll stop, and like a cloud will appear, and the cloud will damage you. It's like a little bit of wider of a radius than the normal enemy, and it'll like go back and do that. So that one was similar to a new mechanic we'll do in the next level. I'll talk about when I talk about that level. Um, but how it works is like the animation will take it, and then based on a timer, it'll like turn on the stink cloud object, which has the damage on touch, and like a bigger hitbox than the normal one, which I think is like a little bit of a rectangle. This one's like a square, kind of like that. and it will like turn it on and off, and the animation will be timed with it. So it was like a little bit of playing with that, like in the timing and stuff. And we had to do like a little bit bigger of an animation, so like a couple more frames, so it like fits. Because originally it was like I think like a couple frames, but it wouldn't fit. It would be like too short. So something like give it so it like goes with the timing of the cloud, and then when he walks and stuff. So yeah, those were the couple of new things for this level, and then yeah, I think that's it for this level. For level 5, we wanted it to be a butterfly focused level. For this one, the main gimmick was something similar to a mechanic I did for the last level, which was the stink bug. After like a couple seconds, he would make the puff cloud based on using a timer, and then like the animations. So for this one, I wanted it to be something else that I did, which was like using weather. So for this one, it would be like a lightning cloud. The cloud would be like here in the air, and it would play like an animation of it like kind of charging up, and then like at the full charge, it would like do like a lightning strike and then like recharge down. So that was very similar to the stink bug, working based on like the animation, and then turning on like when the animation timer is done, turning on the like object with, so it'd be like the lightning bolt and like all the little like clouds to make it more impactful. And that would have like a damage on collide or damage on touch with the box collider. And yeah, that would be that first mechanic. And then a secondary mechanic was one that I did like pretty early on in development, but never got like to implement it in a way. This was also like a weather one. So it was the idea of having a cloud used the moving, so the movements like Corgi Engine script to like move from side to side. But while it'd be moving, it'd be like raining, and then I wanted it to be like continuously raining side to side. So it's like something you can like, it's like hard to avoid. But between like when it reaches like a rock, I have these like two rocks. So I want it to be like when it reaches that, so it like collides that like box collider, then the rain would turn off, and then it would make it so it's like safe for you to move. Something where you're more like kind of patrolling, and this leads into like another level, like a little down the line, that's more focused on this type of like almost like stealth gameplay. So yeah, those are the two mechanics that I had, the weather ones for this one, and like they combined really well. And then we also used a couple mechanics that were from the last level, such as the webs, because they like fit it well, because you can like go on the web, and then like as the cloud is there, you can like kind of like wait for it, like kind of like time when you go with the electric cloud, which was like a cool idea that I thought was fun to do, like kind of timing your movement. And then another one that I didn't really discuss last in like the last section, but is a mechanic that was in the last level, was the moving platform. So how this works is it has like a little hitbox, and then you like jump on it, and then it's stationary to start, but when you jump on it, it like starts the movement, and it'll like move to like the left and right, and it'll start like a movement path, and then you can go on it. So this one incorporated that as well with like the other two mechanics, so you can like go on the thing as it goes, and then you kind of like fly. And the flying helped too, because it's like you can like fly over the things. So I made it like a little challenge, so you have to like fly over them, but there's like a couple of them, so like it'll eat your fly meter if you're not like too careful about it, or if you don't like land on the other platform. So those were the two, a couple of big mechanics. Another enemy was brought in, which is a new one. It's like a horned beetle. So the beetle like moves from left and right, but when you jump on him, he'll like pause for a moment, and then he'll get like upset. So what's it called? His movement speed will increase, and he'll like run, and it'll play like a little animation where he's like red to show he's mad, and he'll go like a little faster, and he can damage you, and he's like invulnerable to getting hit. So that was like a different type. I wanted to do like a little bit of a different type of enemy, so I was able to do that with him. And another section that we did that was like more exploration based was to have like a hole that takes you to like the room. It's like it was a fun idea I had from the start. I wanted to do it like almost like when they're like the fourth wall breaking, but not really. I just wanted to have like an office that was kind of inspired by like my work area, and like some little like gimmicks there, like having like a TV that you can click and turn on, and the PC you can turn the monitor off, and it'll play like a little animation in the background. And then I had a plant. I like thought it'd be cool to like put the plant in it because I like the plant. So I designed it based off a plant that I have, and we put it in there. And then another thing I liked was I wanted to have these like two little like consoles, so like handheld ones that have like that can take you like almost like a mini game, kind of like the other one I did in the other level where it's like the 16-bit, but I wanted like the console to like be able to like play almost like you're playing a game within a game. So that was something I did, and we did it in the style of what's it called? So it's the next like mini level. It's the Game Boy level, so it's similar to the other one. So it's 16-bit, and it's like a little challenge. So it's a little more tougher than the normal one, but it's something you're supposed to do in like one go. But it's like a little shorter but tougher. And this one, the gimmick is that it's based on this level stuff. So it's based on like the lightning cloud, the rain, and those like mechanics and stuff, the webs and like the spiders. But the color palette's restricted to the Game Boys for like green type. So we looked it up, and I thought one of them was black at first, but then I like learned that it's like four different shades of green. So we did it based with those restrictions in order to like pay homage to like the Game Boy art style. And I thought it was kind of cool because it's like cool designing it, and it's not too hard because you can just I already had the 16-bit sprites for the most part from the other level, so it's just like recoloring it or repainting or using the on Sprite the paint bucket to just paint it a different color. So yeah, that was that level. It was like a little diversion, and then the second one I have for in that room takes you to like a mini game that's just a very short. This is where I started to implement the mini games to each of the levels. So this one was one for the Game Boy. It's like there's a bunch of ants and you're just jumping up and trying to collect everything within the short time. It's very short, but something different. And yeah, that's it for this level. The other real cool trick that I had in one of it is the way to get to the level 5's mini game at the very end. For every level, I have almost as like an invisible wall these very spooky purple dark clouds that like cover the ends. Just so I didn't have like it cut off with the image for the background or for the level. I wanted like it to be like something different, and I thought it looked kind of cool. So we have that there, but for the most part, there's like a wall, so you can like go a little bit, but there'll be a point where you like can't go any further. But for at the very end, I wanted it to be like almost like a reward for trying it. So you'll like be able to go, and you think you can't go like all the other ones, you can like go farther. But this one, if you like go a little bit, it'll like disappear and then reveal like a very short area at the end, which will take you to the golden house for the mini game for the next level. So yeah, that was a fun little like thing I wanted to do since I've been doing it as like almost like a constant, like almost like kind of like diverge the expectation, which is like it's gonna hit a wall. So yeah, that was something fun. And then something that I did for the timer mini game, because the timer mini games are all based on like the normal levels, just like shrinking it to whichever one and placing the apples and stuff, and then doing the little like timer mini game stuff. So like the timer and the UI, and then whenever it turns off, like the put the text and then play the sound. But one little like fun fact was because I had that one at the end where it's like you go and it like just disappears. It's not an actual wall. For a while, almost until like the very end when we were like getting the final version ready. I like it was part of the timer mini because it's like a copy of the other one. But thankfully we were able to figure because at that one there's nothing. It's just like dead space. So that would have been like a big mistake. But yeah, that was like a little fun fact that that almost made it to the final version. But yeah, that's it for level 5 and its timer mini game. So the 6th level is the last of the main like standard platforming levels where you have the main mechanics from the caterpillar and butterfly and all their moves, as the next couple ones are a little bit different in scope and just how they play. So for like the first 5 levels, we were able to add like a bunch of different mechanics and like the different environments. But like looking at the levels as like a whole, for the most part, they're pretty like linear. It's like from point A to like point B. And with this level, I really wanted to try to like experiment or like kind of like think outside the box with how I design like the level as a whole. So that's where we got the idea for this one. It's pretty different. You go into like a house, and then there's three like little stem plants, and I wanted to be like those ones are three different areas that you have to like complete, and in completing those you're able to like make the main path in order to get to like the end. So you have to be so how it is the new mechanic for this one is a button. So it's something I did in the geo game, so I like kind of knew how I was like thinking about it. But you like go up to the button and it'll give you a button prompt, and then if you press it and A for the controller, K for the keyboard, the button will do something. On the button activate script. So the idea is at the end of the sections, you'll press a button, and then the button will turn on these like fallen platforms, which you need to go on in order to get to the end. So there'll be three, 1, 2, and 3, and you jump on each of them to get to the end. This level is pretty much a caterpillar only level, as with the butterfly you'd be able to fly there. And also because I wanted to add like a different type of what's it called challenge to it, which I'll discuss when I get to that section. So for the first one of the challenge or the stems, there's three. The one right here, that one takes you to a little bit of like a platforming challenge, not like a complex challenge, but just like more to get you familiar with how the buttons work, and just like a different type of thing. So it's like kind of like a puzzle. So the idea is there's like an ant, you jump on the ant, and then you get on the moving platform to get to the other one, and it'll take you to the button. And the button, there'll be like a wall here. You got to press the button to break the wall to get a little bit further, and then you progress through the little area. Not the most complex, but it's like a little bit of a challenge in the first part of the level. And then at the end, and this is the end for what's it called? True for all of the three areas. It's there's a checkpoint, there's a button, and then the way to get back. Originally, when I was designing it, I wanted it to be where what's it called? When you press the button, and let's say you finish the first section and then you die on the second or third section, then you'd have to like do them all in one go. But unlike subsequent replay and input, I let my brother play test it. It was better decided that maybe it would be good to do it where your progress is saved, so it doesn't reset. It just lets the thing go. That way you can do it and not be like punished for dying at the very end or something like that. So yeah, that was the first section, and then the second one will take you back to the area, and then the first one of the falling platforms will appear. And then in the second section, this was something I wanted to experiment with as well. As there was like a variety of like enemy types and like different characters and stuff, I wanted to do with like a little bit of like an enemy gauntlet. This wasn't the original idea at first. The original idea was to do have like a mini boss and be able to like fight that. But so we created a character, and this was a while back because I was experimenting with different like enemy types, and it was something that I want to do, like something a little more complex than the normal enemy. That would be like one hit or two or a couple hits, and then you'd be able to defeat it. But the centipede works. It's like a bunch of different circles. You got the head, which you can't hit, but then there's like five like hit 'em like circles that you can hit, and then his tail, and they're all different objects that like are within one object, and you gotta like defeat or like hit each of the hit boxes in order to like hurt him. And then when you defeat all of them, he'll die. So yeah, that was something we do, and he doesn't have the most complex move set. He'll like just move back and forth, and then this is where we got the idea for the what's it called the horned beetle, because for this one, when you jump on him, he'll get like upset, and then he'll like move back and forth. And then you have the other ones. But it ended up being like, cause it's not that it's like simple, but it's like pretty quick. Like it's not as long as like maybe like a more complex boss fight would be. So the idea was to put him instead in this mini gauntlet, and then he'll be like the almost like the final part of the mini gauntlet. You have to beat him. So how the mini gauntlet works is it starts you off with like the two little beetle enemies and the fly, something easier. And then when you defeat all of them, there's like a script that we did for the centipede, but I ended up working for these other stuff too. It like counts, and once the objects are turned off, and all of them are turned off, it'll turn on an object. So what it does is there's a game object associated with each of the little beetles and the fly, and once they're defeated, it'll turn it off, and then it'll let it know, and they'll be part of that list. So there's three: little beetle, and the fly. And when each of them are done, it'll turn on the button, which and the button press will turn off the wall that like won't let you go forward. And then you can progress to the next little gauntlet area and then repeat. It'll get the three, you defeat them, it'll turn on the button, you press the button, and then you can get to the centipede. And when you defeat him, the last button will go, and then you can go and press the button to what's it called, make the platform appear, and then go back to the main area. So yeah, that was something different I wanted to try. It was like a different style of like level compared to the other ones that were focused on like defeating the enemies and stuff. And I thought it was pretty interesting because we got like a different types of enemies that you can defeat, and like when combining them together, it like makes it a little more tricky. So yeah, that was the second one, and then the third one I wanted to do was like a water challenge. So you start off, and then you have to avoid like the little urchins and stuff, and then there's puffer fishes, which was also introduced in like a prior level, but I forgot to mention it. How they work is they like just move, and like using the move pattern, and they'll like play a little animation, and if you touch them you get damaged. It's pretty standard. And then there'll be a couple of those, and then you have to like kind of make your way through. And then one new type of enemy we added for this one was what's it called? The piranha plant, not piranha plant, a piranha. So what's it called? He will. It works pretty similar to the hornet, where within like his radius, if you're within it, he'll like start to follow you, and you have to just kind of avoid him. But the only difference is he's in the water. So to make it work where he did in the water, because at first it did it where like if you were in the air outside of the water and within his radius still, he'll still follow you, because it works like it's pretty much the hornet, but we just put him in the water. But in order to do that, we gave what's it called? We put a box collider that'll damage and like kind of push him back, but it won't kill him. It'll just push him back. So if you get to like here the platform and they're like still following you, they'll just get pushed back until you leave. That way they don't like start flying or they don't follow you outside of the water, and they're kept within that range. And yeah, that's the last of the main sections. And then for this one, there wasn't any what's it called, special secret house. So we didn't do the blue house. We just did it as a gold house, and which will take you to the timer mini game it's just based on button presses. When you press the button, there'll be like a bunch of different things to collect the apples and just keep progressing. Pretty similar to the level. And yeah, that was that one. I'm pretty happy I was able to make that one because it was something. Yeah, I was pretty happy to be able to like experiment with the level design and like try to do something different that was like maybe a little outside of what I was used to with the other levels. And yeah, I hope to do more levels that are like different style to like kind of like expand on my level design knowledge with more levels in the future. So yeah, so the next couple levels are ones that are a little bit different than just normal platforming. Just so playing a little bit more with the Corgi engines, different types of like platforming levels. So for the first two, they're a little bit more reminiscent of 2D shooters. One for the caterpillar, one for the butterfly, and those two are very unique in their own right. So starting off with the caterpillar one, this one goes back to the idea I was talking about a little while ago, where I was talking about how um, the cloud was made with the rock, so you can almost like kind of like stealth your way through it because once it touches it, it'll like not be able to damage you and you can go through it. This one I wanted to combine with what's it called, shooting and having very limited ammo and picking up ammo as you go along through the level to kind of create like almost like a pseudo stealth type of level. And this one I thought worked well with the caterpillar because the caterpillar is very like it's on the ground, and we didn't remove, but we like got rid of the dash for this one, so your like move set is a little more limited. It's just kind of like left and right, and you still have the jump, which you can damage. But because you have the ability to shoot, I want it to be like more limited so you can pick up stuff and kind of like try your best to avoid confrontation with the enemies, but you can like get your way if you need to. And yeah, so we created like an enemy using the corgi engines, like little weapons mechanics and like weapon attached. So we gave them, and it's like almost like fireballs, not like an actual like machine gun or anything, but it's like fireballs that we created. There's ones that are purple and yours is like green, and you can aim as like any standard one with the joystick or with the WASD buttons, and then use the not mistaken, K for the I think it's J actually. J for the keyboard, and then the trigger for the controller in order to like fire your way through. Helpful mechanics I have for this one was walls that break, so you can like shoot at the walls, and then like a target. So the target will have like a collider, and then on like when it's destroyed, it'll do some sort of action. So for the most part, it's like maybe breaking a wall. So like in one area in particular, you climb a ladder and then you shoot at the target, and the target will break the wall, making the path for you to go. And some of the, because this was used in the other level as too, you can like shoot it and then it'll like give you some apples or some like collectibles that you can get. So yeah, this one was that. And the second section, so the first section is like based around the mechanics and like kind of going through doors to like make your way through. And then the next section is like a more standard like stealth area. There'd be like a bunch of rocks and enemies almost like patrolling left and right. And the beetles are easy because you can like jump on them if you need to. But then in the other one, there's like little flies that are like a little high, and you, because you can't dash to get your way there, you almost like kind of have to either, if you have ammo left, shoot at them or hide behind the rock and like go behind them and time it that way. And then the last section I wanted to be based on like the targets and breaking them in order to make like a pathway forward. Kind of similar to what I did for the last level, but like kind of like thinking of approaching it as you want. So you have to like get through one target is just kind of moving, so it's almost like you have to like kind of aim and get it. Not the hardest because you can like stand almost next to it, but something a little bit different. And then the other two are just kind of like exploring your way through, and then either defeating an enemy to get behind it, or sneak your way to try to get those two targets. So doing that will break the path in order to get you to the end of the level, and it'll take you to a mini game where it's just more standard shooting and collecting within the time limits. Yeah, that was fun because this was something I haven't done before. Is creating around the Corgi's like character weapon, and something I thought was kind of fun is like a little bit of a different style of level or something different from the main level. So I wanted to add that variety, and this was one of the ones that I wanted to do. And then the next one was the butterfly one. So the butterfly one, this one was designed first because it was more something I could think of like a little bit more than the caterpillar one. The caterpillar one I had to like kind of like sit down and think because I wanted it to be where they had like a level for each, like a caterpillar level and then a butterfly level. And just so it's like not just one and one or one and none or none and one, that they both have an even amount. And for this one, for the butterfly, it was like easier. I wanted to give it like almost like a free reign control, so you're like kind of like in the air moving and then like kind of like shooting, almost like a space shooter kind of, but like horizontally. And for this one, we gave them unlimited ammo, but like stuff like walls will take a little bit harder to collect. And then the enemies, more of them will like shoot back at you, and it'll take like a couple hits to get. And one thing that I want to do was like a secondary one, so like almost like a power up. It's like at the beginning, but then if you break like a bunch of targets, there'll be like one, and that one's limited, so it's like 10 shot, but it does three in a row instead of one, just to give it like a little bit more variety. And then we have some other mechanics from other levels, like the speed up and slow down for like the wind. So it'll be like a section you'll have to go like pretty quick through it, and then another one will kind of like slow you down, and you gotta like there'll be like little enemies and you gotta like shoot at them or like kind of avoid them in the slower almost it's honey because it's based on like a bee like the story theme is like it's like a beehive and you gotta free the little bees and this will take you so like once you get through all those little areas you go to like a little hole and it'll take you to the last section which I want to do is like a more proper boss fight so this will be like a big hornet, and you gotta like kind of like shoot your way to like get him in. One second. So for the last section, you go in the hole, and it'll take you to like the hornet, which is more of a proper boss fight. He'll like move around a little bit, and he'll like shoot at you, but he'll take like a lot of hits to like get, which is why like the power up from before, like the three shots, like kind of helpful because you can aim it. You can like hit him quicker and stuff. So yeah, that was something I wanted to do. And then when you defeat him, he'll like play an animation where he like almost disintegrates into the air and stuff, and then it'll like open up the last area and fitting the level like where you gotta save the bees. There'll be like a little beehive cage, and you shoot at it, it'll break. The bee will be like all cheerful and stuff, and there'll be like a couple bees at the end with apples. Then the last part, which you can go to the timer mini game. The timer mini game is pretty similar to the like the overall theme. Just fly through, shoot at the targets, collect the apples within like the almost like the honey area where there's like slows. I forget if it's slows or speed. I think it's slow. And then just collect all of them within the time, and it'll give you the perfect. So yeah, that one I wanted to do as well because it was something very different. Because like controlling it's like different. One like almost caveat or like something that had a little difficulty with. Um, because this one's a little different, so it's like moving. When so like in a normal level, if you go and there's like a pit and you touch the bottom, you'll die and have to restart. But because this one you're like moving freely, you have to like kind of put grounds at the bottom. Well, I didn't have to at first. You could do it where you don't die, like push you up. But I noticed when like play testing it, and you did that, but there was no ground. It was just there. You would kind of sometimes get stuck, like almost in the ground. Like it's not sure whether to kill you or like I don't really know why it does that, but that was something I noticed. So like solution to get around it was to put like ground. So you'll have something like collide, but you won't die if you touch the ground. There was nothing wrong with the top though. Like if you like went to the top, it like didn't do anything. But yeah, I noticed that about the ground. So that was something that like I had to like work around or like take notes of while I was like play testing it and try to like fix those types of things that came with like not knowing how to do it. So I'm glad I know it now, and I thought it was like a pretty good level to experiment with as well because this one has like the other one add like a little bit of a variety, and I hope to make like a couple more in like this type of style, like some other styles similar, just to, like add a bunch of different levels to the game because I think they're fun to have a little bit of difference. Like the normal platforming is fun, but then having like these other like unique levels or add like a little fun like touch to the game. So the next two levels are auto scroll levels in a similar manner to how the last two levels were one shooter for a caterpillar, one for a butterfly. There's one auto scroll for the caterpillar, one for the butterfly, and they each have their own like retrospective attributes that make them a little bit different from each other. So starting with the caterpillar one, so the idea for the auto scroll, I wanted it to be like almost like at the like an extra level. That's something that's a little bit different, but a little bit challenging. Kind of like incorporating a bunch of the skills from some of the other levels and those types of mechanics. And it was one of the ones I like had the idea of at the beginning of the game, but I put off on like actually like building or like making because I wanted those like first couple levels to like introduce the mechanics and like for the player to be able to like have seen them prior before doing the auto scroll level. So like when they get to it, because it's like a little bit quicker because you're being chased by the wall, It's something that you need to like, or that they're almost expected to be reacted to or be able to react to because they've seen it before in the other levels and have like a little bit more familiarity with like the water or the platforms that move you or a bunch of the other mechanics and stuff. So one of the ideas with the auto scroll, so for the caterpillar, this one's like a horizontal level. So the auto scroll will be in the direction from here to here. And this one, so something different with this is that it's based on the idea of it being like purpley and is inspired from like the invisible wall that we have in every single level where at the end of the levels or in the beginning of the levels there's like a wall and it's like an invisible wall so you go through it but it has like almost like a spooky atmosphere to it and this was something that I wanted it to be like almost like a chasing you in the auto scroll levels so we had to attach it to the camera and give it like a hitbox or a box collider so it can like when it touches you in the damage on touch script so like when you collide with it it'll touch you because the normal auto scroll will kind of like just kind of like push you on. So if I remember correctly, I think it's just when you like fall off, you die, or if you get like if you get crushed. But it's not like how it's like where we wanted to, where there's like a wall, and it's like chasing you if you like touch the end. So if you're like too slow and you hit like a certain area, you'll like have to restart. And something else was that we wanted to be like where because in the demo scene for it it like gets you right going so you like load the level and then because it's the showcase the auto scroll it like gets you going and like into it and shows the speed up slow down and the stopping of the auto scroll so then we wanted it to be like there's an area where you can like go and then there's a little sign and once you get to that sign, that's when like the level, the like will appear and it'll like chase you, and you start the level. It'll keep going, and there'll be like the typical mechanics I was talking about. Whereas like at some points, based on like the speed and how it's like played, some points will be a little bit faster. So there's like ground that'll speed you up. That's a little bit faster. But then there's a water section which is a little slower to maneuver through. So that one the camera and stuff slows down and yeah and it keeps going with there wasn't able to put enemies in it because the enemies would move with the camera it was an idea I was thinking about but instead or in lieu of enemies we have these like little spooky like cloud type things it's like it was a unique it's one of the more unique designs I wanted to do but the idea with those ones because the auto scrolls like almost with like timing a little bit because you have to be like quick enough to go and if you're too slow you die um, it was to like pause the character a little bit. So if you collide with these like spooky clouds, I don't really have a name for them, but it's like a little purple cloud thing. And if you collide with the hitbox, it'll like freeze. It'll tell the game manager to freeze the player and start a timer for like I want to say like half a second or a second, and then afterwards it'll let you resume and it's just to like kind of like let the like almost a hindrance for the wall to like kind of catch up if you're like a far ahead and if you collide into too many then obviously if it's like too slow you'll collide and die and yeah that's it for that so that's like the main and then there's just stuff from the main level as I mentioned the swim the speed up one or ground and then there's like little what's it called the leaves that you can jump down so there's a couple of those just to make it like a little bit longer for you to get down and yeah that's it for the main mechanics and then at the very end of the level you jump to the last platform it'll stop the thing and there'll be a house for you to go into one of the scrapped ideas I had for these two, there's not a mini game or a timer mini game for them, and that's because I wanted it to be because in the other timer mini games, there's not really anything for you to die in because it's just like the ground is more about collecting. But in this one, if you touch the wall, you'll die. So maybe in the future I'll try to like implement it maybe with the normal auto scroll. But for now, yeah, we just did it like that where it's just the other levels have it and this one's almost like a special little level and one challenge that I had was when testing it um, for some reason in the game manager didn't show but like when testing it sometimes the camera would like cut off and you wouldn't be able to see the like sign so it'd be like hard to start the level So we have to keep like adjusting and playing with that to like kind of like push it so you can like be able to start the level, because then otherwise it'd be broken. And then I'd have the inverse problem where if you were like too quick, and normally it's not too bad, but if you like hog to the right, there's like a chance you could time your jump and it would pause. It would like hit the stopper, and then the camera stops. But there's a chance it would do it before like the house. So then you would at the same, it'd be the opposite. You'd be stuck. You beat the level, but you'd be stuck and not able to go to the house. So for that one, it was a little bit easier because you could just extend the house's like box collider. So if the player like, if for some reason that happens and the player's like stuck, you can press A and yeah, because you beat the level. I mean, you got to the last like platform, so it's yeah, but yeah, that's something I want to take a look at as well in the like future to see like how to like tweak those things a little bit better, especially for this level. And because I like the auto scroll, I think is like a fun in a similar vein to how the caterpillar shooters were like a fun little like not distraction but like differentiation from the other platform levels. I think these ones are fun as well. So yeah, that was the caterpillar level for the auto scroll. And then there's the butterfly auto scroll level. That one is very similar in design, but the difference is now that you're controlling the butterfly and you can like fly a little bit more. The auto scroll is from down, like it's going up. So it's from down and you can go up. And that's to utilize the fly ability, where the other one was to utilize more of the dash ability, like you're dashing to get to these platforms. But with this one, you're like trying to like fly and make sure you can like get up to like a higher up platform and like kind of avoid the fog as it's like getting to you. So this one was pretty fun to design because I really did like I like the verticality because it like made it a little bit challenging. Where as I mentioned before, like a lot earlier, that sometimes the butterfly it felt like it was like you could avoid a lot of the challenge because you can just fly over it. When you're like flying or you're like going up, you have to like time your flying a little bit or like kind of like conserve it as much as you can. So you don't run out because there's not really too much platforms you can stop because the ground it keeps going up the cloud. So I thought it was like a fun little challenge with the butterfly, and I definitely want to do more of these ones if I do more levels in the future like this because it like adds to like a little bit of a challenge for the butterfly. And yeah, in a similar vein to the other level, we have to put the clouds, but unlike the other one where it's just the side, this one I put it on the ground and then to the two sides, and I like it. Like makes it almost like a little bit of like it's like closing in on you kind of thing. And there was other mechanics we did for this one that weren't used in the other one. So these were the moving platform with the butterfly. So these ones go up, and then the falling platform. Well, I think I used the falling one for the other one, but they were used as well here. And then similarities were the grass that falls, and then the swimming. And yeah, this was a pretty good one to do. This wasn't as there wasn't like too many complications for it. The one that I had was sometimes when you would die for some reason it would be like almost like a bug where you would die and then you would keep dying like over. I think it's because the camera was here and you were still down here, so it'd be like because this would be like a dead zone. So you just keep dying and dying till you got a game over. At that point, it had like a minimum of I think 5 lives. But yeah, you could. That was like one of the problems where it would just like keep killing you, and then you would get game over and have to restart. So that one wasn't really fun because you die once and it kill you like 20 times. But that one was one that we fixed with just playing around with like the different things and turning stuff on and off. I think I turned off the box collider for that one until you like respawn, so then it didn't like detect or like keep detecting that the box collider was like in the dead zone and killing you before the camera moved. And that one, if I recalled, fixed. This was a while ago, so I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was working now. I'm like in the last couple of plays, I try to like test as much to make sure that something like that doesn't happen because it takes away from the fun of it. But yeah, those these were two fun little extra levels to do, and I hope to do like these types of ones are ones like the shooter ones that are just like a little bit different and playing with some of the stuff that I didn't get to before with the Corgi engine, like the auto scroll. So after the auto scroll levels, there's two levels at the end. They're just two versions of the same level. What I wanted to do was create like, because I have the 16-bit levels and those ones are a little bit more of a challenge compared to the standard levels and even the auto scroll and the shooter ones. So these ones are different. And those ones are shorter though, so it's like a little bit of a challenge using some of the skills. So like for the 16-bit retro one, Retro Blues, that one's a little bit of a challenge using like the wind and using the dash to like jump on the enemies and stuff. And then for the other one, the Game Boy one, it uses the spiders and some of the weather effects, such as the rain and the lightning and the new spider enemies for that level. But what I wanted to do for like the last level of at least this version of the Caterpillar Adventure game was to have like a level that incorporates a lot of the different mechanics and is like a real test of your skill, like last level, lengthy 16-bit style level. And so I have two versions because originally when I was designing it, I wanted it to be like one really long challenge, no checkpoints, just tough. so but like when I was doing it, it was pretty tough for me to beat it. So I was like, oh, maybe just to like be able to like have the option if you're like want to beat it, but just have not make it easy, but like have some checkpoints. So it's like more doable, or it's like a chance that's more doable in like getting the checkpoints and getting through the sections instead of like going through all the sections and dying it. And then the second version of it is the same thing but without the checkpoints. So just in case like you really want to like master your skill at it, you can do it, and it's doable. I've done it like a couple times, but I'm not really the best tester of it anymore because I've played the game like so many times testing it. So I like have it memorized at this point. So I like know how to beat it, and even then I still die sometimes. So um, but yeah, so the idea was this was one that I had like I like with all the levels I write them on a paper first, but this one I wanted to write down the ideas and kind of like how I wanted to like structure this like big level to give it like more of a structure. So the idea was because I have the six main platforming levels and each of them have their own like unique mechanics. I wanted to incorporate as many of them as possible. So for the first one, I use like the first section of the level is based on level one, so the basic mechanics, jumping, dashing, and that type of stuff. So there's like enemies to like kind of like jump on subsequently. And then the secondary section, I wanted to be more on that, like levels mechanics. So falling platforms, a little bit of a water area, and like it was in the swamp level. And then the third section, I wanted to be on the third level, so it's wind. There's a lot of like wind mechanics. I think there's a little bit of there's the leaves that you have to fall underneath. And the fourth one, it uses the one so this one combines level 4 and 5. So because they like incorporate a bunch of like ones together that like complement each other. So use like the moving platform they can see in both spider webs and the spider enemy, and then like the weather. I really like that combination of like the spider web and the weather because you can like kind of like move and like the weather will be here and like because it goes off on like a timer almost. You can like time your movement because you're like in the air with that. So I like that one a lot. So those ones are combined. I really wanted it to be like fast paced, so we didn't include the button for this one. But maybe in like a subsequent, or if I like ever try to like expand or add like to it, maybe I would add like some of the like a button press you have to do to like progress. But yeah, so I was using those main mechanics in like a bunch of different ways to just have like like a challenging level that's like almost like an endurance run. So that was something I had, and then almost as a reward for like getting through the level, at the very end, there's like an area. I did like a like almost like a pixel art like background for it. this was something new for me because I've done like the smaller pixel arts, but I haven't really done like a big pixel art background. And I would love to get better at it. I think I did I tried to do like a simpler like sunset type thing, but I think there's always room to improve or like get better with art. So I hope they like be able to make more art and stuff to get it like a little bit better and like more of like a nice visual to like in the background. But yeah, so there's the visual, and then there's a bunch of, I try to include like small pixel art versions of all of the characters and ones from all the other levels, and they'll like say like a congratulatory message and something like goofy or quirky with them, like they do in the normal levels. So there's like a little bit of everybody, and they'll all congratulate you. And one of the differences I have, so for the first version, like the non or the checkpoint version, they'll say like something, and then in the non-checkpoint version, they'll say something a little bit extra, just as a little bit of a smaller reward, just for doing the little extra of not having the checkpoints. But yeah, and then after that, there'll be a small pixel art. The house, the butterfly house, and they'll take you to the credits, and the credits are scroll up credits with a bunch of the images that we did for in the photoshops of the loading screens. Each loading screen had like a unique image in the background, so I wanted to like incorporate all of them. And then I did one like an extra one or two for this, like as a little like reward to be able to see that. So yeah, that's it for the big game. I'm really happy with how it came out. I'm really happy that we got to do it and like incorporate a lot of it. My goal was to with this project was to make like a bunch of different levels to show off or like learn more than anything, more level design than I was able to in the other ones, because those were like a smaller base, but like more like level by level. I didn't get to like combine as much as I could. So I wanted like something like this where I'm able to like have like each level have like a bunch of new mechanics, but also combine some mechanics from the other stuff. And I'm really happy that we got to do it. Something else that I got to do after we finished like the build of the game was I wanted to contract for music to do something different because I haven't done it before for some of my other projects. I used freesoundorg.com so to get some music, but I really wanted to because this was like something that I put a lot of time into, and I hopefully will be able to like expand on and maybe be able to one day in the long future but one day get like a full release, like a lot of levels and stuff. So I wanted to like start like being able to like reach out to people and make music or like contract for music and stuff. So yeah, we were able to reach out on using Fiverr. It's like a freelancing website. We were able to reach out to this what's it called? The username BeatScribe. He's a really talented guy. He does what's it called? Pixel arts or not pixel art, pixel like 16-bit sounds and stuff and music, and they're really good. I was really happy listening to some of his like because they had like previews and stuff. So we reached out to him, and thankfully he wanted to what's it called work on the project. So we compensated him for his time, and we did like a couple sounds he did, and he did the title song and this one song we have. So yeah, it was a good like starting point to like contact and be able to like work with somebody in the future if I like save a little bit more. I would definitely like to like what's it called work again with maybe him or anybody else on Fiverr, and to get more songs that are like original for the game, because I do like it. Like gives it like a little bit of a unique thing, and it's something that's like made for the game. So I really like that type of stuff, and maybe even like expand beyond music and to do like what's it called? Because for the future of the game, I want to continue adding to that. I want to eventually create more levels, use some of the Corgi engine stuff that I haven't before, like I've done with this project, where I was able to do the auto scroll levels that I've seen but I haven't done before, or the 2D shooter ones that I've never even touched. So I was able to like start with that, and there's some other ones off the top of my head. The one I could think of is the auto runner. So it's like I haven't played it or like looked too much into it, but it's something I imagine it's like you just keep going and you got to time the jumps. So I think that could be a fun, different like type of level, and using like the mechanics that you have. I think it'd be pretty fun. So maybe I'll test with that and try to like create a level or two levels, maybe one for the caterpillar, one for the butterfly to start, just to have something different and maybe expand on different level themes. I think I really like doing the ones that are like colorful, like the windy willows, where it's like almost like orangey, like a fall scenario. So I think that'd be fun and to contract. For like songs for that or maybe arts. One thing I want to do for the next version is for this one, there's no story, not really. It's just go through the levels pretty much. But I would like to have like a story. One thing I was thinking of maybe incorporating that like spooky wall type element and like having like a bad guy like take over the world, and that's why the wall is spooky. And maybe one thing I was like playing around with is redesigning the enemies to like maybe fit that spooky theme, or like they're like possessed or corrupt or something. You gotta like kind of free them, so you're not just like beating up random enemies. There's like a reason. There's a reason to beat them up. So something like that is a little bit more we want to do. Another like more not minimal but not as grandiose as like new levels and stuff, it'd be to like add collectibles that save your progress, or to have levels be unlocked and stuff instead of having all the levels like you can choose which level. And I think that would fit like a story. The way I'm thinking off the top of my head would be like maybe to have this one the way it is like now, where it's like every level you can choose like almost like a free play option, and then have like a story mode where you like progress through the levels and stuff like that. So those are some ideas I want, and just to add more ideas, I have a list of it's just I jot whenever I think of something I jot it down, or even as the process of going we jot stuff down just to like just to have some ideas, maybe to be able to like one day try them out and see if they work. If they don't, they get scrapped. If they're not, maybe we could retweak it into something else. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with how this game turned out. Everything really, being able to like when I was starting, my goal was 4 levels to get like I did with the Geo game, 4 levels that were all like kind of different, show off some really short adventure, but like some nice platforming with animations. I really wanted to like expand on that. Which is why I like the caterpillar and then the butterfly. When you like start the level, they like start off the egg and it comes out, or he like transforms into the butterfly to do some like expand on that, because I haven't done that, and it was pretty challenging for me because I had to like kind of like spend a lot of time to make the animation, make the colors and like stuff like that, and pick which one I like, and just like kind of like test it out. And then setting up the animation parameters, because I didn't do too much with it with some of the other games because they're more simple. Like the forest game, he's got a couple animations, but not like too complex, because I did Illustrator, so I did like 1 or 2 frames, and then Geo Game is like a square, so you have like 2 animations. But for this one, I wanted to do a lot more, which is why I try to give like at one point I did it where it's like the ground was moving as well, but it was like it was almost too jumpy. Everything was too jumpy almost. So then we just had it so the flowers dance and stuff. But yeah, I wanted to add and like expand on it, and I think we were able to do that pretty well. And I'm pretty excited to be able to like maybe do some more with it or like expand on it. I feel like this is like the building block and like the ground, and we can like add to it and like construct something pretty nice in the future. So I'm pretty excited for that. And yeah, thank you very much for playing the game if you played it, watching the video if you watched it, or even if you just like checked it out, or checked out some of the stuff I've done. I'm pretty happy to remake stuff and to be able to hopefully continue to make stuff like this. And yeah, I hope to maybe expand the next time I do it, like an update or something. Just make a video like this, edit some footage, and then like post as like a part 2, or like a version 2.0 if it ever comes out, to put that with it. So yeah, thank you very much. Bye bye. a snake rather than a caterpillar because I wanted called like a, instead of the regular house which is blue, it would be one that's golden. And much later on in the development, so for let me think, go to like create a path. So what I mean by that was, in the level we have I don't know if it's gonna go or not. And yeah, that was that one. I'm pretty happy I was able to make that one because it was something